and welcome to my new video. This is Alien Trilogy on the Sega Saturn. Now, I have got this on the Sony PlayStation, so I was interested to see how both of these games compared to one another. Obviously the PlayStation was regarded as being the more powerful of the two consoles, especially when it comes to 3D games. And I think this was basically because the architecture for the PlayStation was far easier to develop for than it was for the Saturn. I mean, as I understand, the Sega Saturn had a bit of a tricky and weird way of doing things, and I think that was due to its hardware configuration, where the PlayStation was a lot more straightforward and I think had a bit more trickery up its sleeve. And certainly when playing this game, it only becomes apparent. Well, when I started playing this game, I didn't really notice much difference. I mean, the games run very, very smoothly on both formats, but what did become apparent, and I noticed that the lighting effects were pretty much absent on the Saturn version. On the actual PlayStation version, there's quite a lot of spooky, eerie lighting effects in the game that really do add to the atmosphere, that seem to be just not there on the Saturn in any way, shape or form. You don't so much notice it here, but there's certain rooms that you go into whereby on the PlayStation version there's totally different lighting. It's very, it's sort of lit. It's kind of difficult to say, but it's kind of lit purely by ambient lighting effects, if that makes any sense. Whereas here it tends to be sort of very much consistent throughout. One of the giveaways, and I know it sounds a bit daft to say, but one of the giveaways quite often is if you look at the actual weapon that you're holding, in games that have the kind of lighting effect that I'm talking about, that will change colour dependent on the lighting that's in the environment, and that doesn't tend to happen anywhere near as much on the Saturn version of this game. And I guess again this is sort of the difference in both power and the ease with which to develop for I've seen, look, go back and watch Quake. I've seen some pretty decent effects in Quake on the Sega Saturn, so it was obvious that it was a capable machine, but I guess it was just trying to get that balance of power, smoothness, and so on and so forth out of it. And if it's not easy to develop for, developers only have a limited amount of time to make games. And this is something, ironically enough, that was cited with the PlayStation 3, that it wasn't a particularly easy console to develop for because of its architecture. And that's why quite often multi-format releases tended to look better on the Xbox 360. It's kind of ironic that which was very important to Sony and what helped make the PlayStation the success that it was is something that Sony seem to have forgotten about this generation. They definitely need to get their act together with their next console and make it an easier platform to develop for. There's no reason why you can't have a very powerful console that's also easy to develop for. There's no point having any kind of power there if it's fiendishly difficult to develop, because programmers will take the path of least resistance, which is to make games that aren't as good looking as they should be. But anyway, going back to this, it is perfectly playable. I know, sort of graphic detail and effects to one side for the moment, it runs at a very nice frame rate. It's very playable, and it's a pretty awesome game, full stop. I love this game. It's very atmospheric, and it does convey the mood of the films very, very well. I can't remember now. I'm sure I've done the video for the PlayStation version, so if I have, check that out and see what I mean by the differences. If I haven't, I'll be putting it up very soon. So anyway, thank you for watching and stay tuned for more videos to come.